Welcome, my meeple, to another One Good Turn video, where we present a convention-style demo in a virtual space. The goal is to provide a unbiased, unedited look into the gameplay to see if it's a good fit for you and your group. With that being said, everybody loves preambles. I'd like to welcome today's guest. I have Peter Vaughn from Cardboard Alchemy Games. How's it going, Peter?
Hey, how's it going?
That's good. Glad to have you, and thanks for taking time out of your day to give us a demo of Luke's new game, Andromeda's Edge.
Yeah, this is what I'm here for. Andromeda's Edge. This is it. I appreciate you looking at it.
Yeah, he co-designed it with Maximus, his son, right? Maximus.
Correct.
Very cool.
Maximus actually had a lot of input on Dwellings of Eldervale as well. And I believe they've started to do... Luke likes to work as a team. He designed with Scott Caputo on Whistle Mountain, Thomas Jolly on Energy Empire, and Maximus was a natural... he's already pinging ideas off of Maximus all the time, and they decided to co-design on this one, and I think some other titles they're working on together as well.
That's very cool.
Right.
So
Yeah.
The crux of this show is basically give us an elevator pitch, what the game's about. We'll go to the table and take a look at it deeper. But with that being said, what's the pitch of the game?
All right. I like to start with themes, so we're gonna do that. We'll get into some mechanisms, but you are a desperate faction, and you have been chased to the edge of Andromeda by a faction we call Unity. So you're hunted, you're out of resources, you've got your space station and a couple of ships, that's all you've got. And you're trying to make it work and build back your civilization. Luke, as far as the mechanisms go, Luke and Maximus too are big fans of worker placement, engine building. Fortunately for me, they throw in a little variable player powers, which is my favorite. You got area control, you got hand management, and you got dice battles. There's a lot going on in this game.
A little bit of everything.
That's the gist right there.
Right on. Well, it'll make more sense when we take a look at the table and kind of dissect the turn. So if you are ready to do that, let's go ahead.
Yeah, let's dive right in. So,
all right.
What we're looking at here basically is a player station, a space station, right? So if this is yours, you're playing the Arcanoan shipwrights. Everyone's got a custom faction. That faction's got a couple of tracks that you're going to be good at, a special ship you can unlock and get. It's also got some powers. And you've got your stations holding a couple of resources that you start with. And you've got your transport ships, which is your basic worker. 4 different types of workers. So you've got transports, fighters, science vessels, and heavy cruisers. Each one of those has different range, different weapons, plus they could be upgraded. So we like worker placement where not only you got unique workers, but also upgradable workers. Pretty fun.
Right.
So if you're talking about turn here, let's say it's your turn and you're taking either one action to go out to the board or pull everything back. People who've played Dwellings of Eldervale would recognize that. That's actually a big thing for Luke is sort of an asynchronous. You decide if you want to go out with one or back with everything. So let's say you go out with one worker here, and this transport, if you take it to the Maximus field.
Go ahead.
I'll bring it over here for you. So you're over.
Thank you,
on
man.
that.
Sorry about that.
There we go. No worries. So I got you
there.
So you're going to take this action now of the Maximus field.
Okay.
So if you go to a planet, you might grab a moon. You go to an alliance base, which is what this is. You're going to take a unique action based on that location. So the Maximus field is great if you want to go up a couple of tracks and get some modules for your space station, and that's what you're wanting to do. So basically, in this particular case, there's a symbol here which indicates that the event track would move. That's something that is controllable by you. So you can decide, I want the event track to move. I'm going to go to the Maximus field for that reason. After that's resolved, you have a chance to buy 1 or 2 science or industry modules, which as you pan up here, you're going to find the modules and the 5 tracks that you can go and explore up here. Mm-hmm. So this area, the science area of science and industry, that's what you're going to be buying modules from. Now, these are all remnants of a precursor civilization. You can attach them to your ship, your space station, and sort of build new functionality for your station. So let's say you could buy 1 or 2. Let's say you really want this plutonium synthesizer because it's got some good stuff going on, but it also comes in damaged. So you might not want to do that. Now the cost of that is going to be indicated right here. Above it, it's 1 titanium and 1 of any resource. So
Okay.
you could do that, or you could go to the one above it and buy actually this dynamic mechanism, which would cost you more titanium, but doesn't come in damaged. It gives you a chance to slot a moon on
What's
it.
the
So maybe
icons? Give a quick breakdown. What was the bottom one do?
it gives you 1 titanium and 1 energy
All right. I like
when
resources.
you activate
Yeah.
it, but it's also
Okay.
got a point here on the side. That is actually another slotting location for a moon. So the way industry works is you can combine industry modules together. So, but let's just say you took the dynamic mechanism and you
Yep.
paid 2 titanium. So I'll get that out of the way. And then let's say I'm going to attach it right here to your station. Now that's going to attach like this. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit. So we go back up to the module field now. And when I grab that, when you get a module for any reason, you will go up the corresponding track. So this is the track for industry. So you'll go up the industry track. Now, as you go up the track, there are reasons to go up each track. Industry is tied to factories. If you're building factories, that's one reason you want to go up the industry track. Industry also allows you to upgrade your ships. So I could improve my science vessel or my heavy cruiser this way. And also industry is going to be one way to score. And during the game and at the end of the game. So if you want to focus on industry, you can. So that's one of the things you want to do. Now, in the module field, you could still buy a second one. If I had enough titanium, I could, of course, buy a second industry one. But let's say I wanted to buy a science one and go up that one as well. So you could buy this petrol fuel transformer, which gives you either an energy or a nanocarbon, your choice when you activate it. And science is how you sort of generate more energy. Usually it's all about the energy. So then you might also look at the top, the fusion reactor that's above that and say, oh, that's going to be 2 energy. I want that. Whichever one you pick.
What helps you decide like for your strategy, you think? Is there
Well, sometimes it's what you can afford because resources are very tight. And you look at the bottom one, it's cheapest. As it flows to the nebula, it gets more and more affordable. The top one is the most expensive. Now, like you might have wanted this one for industry, but you can't afford 2 titanium and 1 anything. So you might pass and let it next person, like it's going to slide down and you might be able to get it cheap eventually.
Yeah, I'll just take something cheap, man. Either one of the bottom ones.
Right. So you could take this one, right? And then that's going to, let's say we drag this down to your board.
I got it.
And you would plug it in on your top row, actually.
Okay.
So that's your science row. There's a little bit of a mismatch on the art because it's a work in progress TTS version.
Always.
But basically, you would buy those 2, and then again, you bought a science one, so you'd go up in science. So you take the purple one and go up in science. And science has got some fun things. Science has got discoveries going on. So if you go up science, you can be the first to make a discovery. And you get to look through all these tokens in a stack and choose the one that you want and leave the, as I like to say, leave the crap for other people. You make the first discovery and then someone else makes the second discovery and you get the best stuff. So science is all about that. It's also tied to observatories. So basically, if you're building observatories, you get more of a chance at getting some bonus items. Science is all about the discoveries.
There's buildings in this, obviously, and I want to cover that just to kind of show some separation. How are the buildings different in this one versus dwellings for those that might know? Maybe that would help us.
Well, it's a 2.0 system. We're not just having like a rooftop on a meeple. Nah, that's so yesterday, right? So what we have is every planet has a unique tie-in to a building type. So if you're on an icy planet, it ties to civilization where there's a lot of water, and so basically you can build a city there. If you're in a radioactive red planet, there isn't much civilization there, so you're building an obelisk. You're building a giant towering obelisk to, I don't know, transmit data or something. Who knows what's happening at those obelisks? But you're deciding what kind of building you want to know. Each one of those is also tied to a track. So as I just said, with science being tied to the green track and the green planets, is basically if you want to build observatories, you are going to push yourself up that track. If you want to build cities, you're going to go up that blue track, that civilization track. So that they all have different reasons why you might want to go up those tracks.
Very cool. That's
So
interesting. Yeah, that's a new take on it, and I like that you made symbols up there, so I know which track you're talking about. You said green. I said, "Uh-oh," but you got me.
Right.
Up top.
Yes, we are trying to make sure that it's totally friendly.
You guys are great about that. So we got tech trees to think about. So let you get back to guiding me through this turn here. So
sure. So let's say this worker right here is just finished taking 2 modules. At the end of any action, we would slide down and replace those modules from the deck. So it would be a fresh market in case you play a card or something where it grabs another module. After every action, you do replenish that. Now the thing is that you've just gone in this space and there's a raider nearby. This is a Vorticon Striker. Oh, you've already killed it, actually. Look at that. So the Vorticon Striker, which would be a mini if you're going for the deluxe edition. This is representing the retail edition of the game, which has got standees. So this Vorticon Striker would come in because there's a range of 1. All of the raider cards will indicate whether or not they have a range of 1 or 2 or what their die rolls are and so forth. So that comes in and initiates a battle. You always get to do your action before any battle. So you see you got to completely do all your buying before you got into this skirmish you're about to get into.
Like dwellings, I like that aspect. That way it gives you at least not getting hosed out of whatever happens if you lose.
Right.
So.
You're not blocked. Like if you're on the Maximus field and I want to take my turn, I can go to the Maximus field. I can still get a science module. I'm not prevented from doing so. That's really important. But then now we would have what we call escalation. So escalation is every ship that's within range can also join this fight. Now you've got, say you've got a transport nearby at the Monolith of the Ancients. You've also got a heavy cruiser here. The heavy cruiser actually has a range of 1, so it doesn't have enough juice to get there, but the power of the heavy cruiser is a jump ability. The jump ability allows you to spend 1 energy, and then it has infinite range, and it can suddenly be instantly there if you wanted to get there.
Yeah.
You have a science vessel all the way up here in the nebula, but the science vessel, unless it's an upgraded one, usually has a range of 2, and 2 is not enough to get down there. So you would have to leave that one out. So in this particular fight, you would decide if you want to risk more ships.
Right.
What do you think?
Yep.
What do you think?
So leave my science vessel. Let's get the heavy cruiser over there with some energy.
Yeah, so you'd spend an energy.
I'd like to go all out and see if I still lose. It'd be hilarious.
So what you're going to do is you're risking more of your fleet here, but there's some advantages to doing this whole big thing that you're doing. First of all, you're going to roll more dice because every ship has a dice amount that it rolls. By the way, this raider, this Vorticon Striker, rolls 2 dice. Now you're rolling 1 per transport, so you get 2 dice that way, and then you've got this heavy cruiser which rolls 3 dice. So you'd be rolling 5 dice
against his 2.
What was that?
Against his 2 or 3?
Against his 2.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind that during escalation, you as the person who started it would get to choose first, but I also have a fighter nearby, and I could choose to come in as well.
Okay.
Right? Now, I am going to pop popcorn over here and just watch. My fighter is not feeling it today, so I'm not coming in against this because I'm looking at your heavy cruiser thinking, nah, you just decided you're going to bring in the whole thing. I'm out.
Right. We got plans.
So then we get into a really cool part about this combat that's totally different than Dwellings, is that there's a diplomacy phase. Now, each player can choose to play 1 and only 1 diplomacy card, which can change the rules of the fight. You in your hand, you have a diplomacy card in your hand called Bargain for Safe Passage. If you chose to play that right now, it says the battle ends. Move 1 of your ships from the active region to any planet or alliance base. Now, tactically, you might want to do this because let's say you don't want to lose your ships because you're about to have a good pullback turn. Probably you would not have brought in your whole fleet if you were going to do this.
No.
But of course, you could. As a bluff, you could see what you did is you just bluffed me out of it. And then here secretly, you're just going to bargain and say, nah, I didn't actually want to fight. Right.
I actually have a better card, but yeah.
Okay, so cool. If you don't want to play diplomacy, then you don't play one. And obviously, the raider has no diplomacy. They don't know. They don't bargain for safe patches. They're going to fight. So now we go into what we call the battle phase, where you're going to roll your dice. But it's worth noting that there's a couple things you can do here. You can spend energy as weapons. So let's say you didn't have 5 dice, but you wanted to get more dice. you can spend energy to up your dice.
Okay.
And you have a couple energy in your reserve, so you could spend them as weapons if you wanted. In your case, you're already at 5 dice. Your max dice is 6, so you'd spend 1 energy if you felt like it. And then we're going to do a roll off. We could do that. I can grab 2 dice for the raider. I'll grab 2 orange dice, and we'll bring it nearby because we're doing a fight. So there's 2 dice for them, and you're going to take, if you're not spending energy, you're going to bring 5 dice for you. And we can roll it up right here. I'll roll for the raider. Ready?
See if I can remember how to roll. Hold on.
You just do R for a roll?
Yeah,
you can just hit the R key.
I did the boomer style.
All right. Now, here's how battle works. You compare the highest die. So I have a 6, you have a 6. But then we go to the next highest die. You have a 6, I have a 5. The raiders have a 5. So that would mean that you win this fight. If for example, you had only gone in there with 1 ship, you could still win with the high 6, or you might get knocked out and go
That's why I did this, because that would happen to me a lot. Or, I rolled 6 dice, got 1 6, and then they got.
I mean, there's actually really great ways that you can mitigate dice here. Now I want to explain this because let's just say that you had not gotten this.
Okay.
I'm going to set this to a 1, and I'm going to set this 6. We don't need to adjust your luck, but in this case, we're going to do this, okay? So you just rolled this result instead. Now, that's a losing result because they have a 6, your highest is a 5, right?
Right.
But you have something called targeting, and this is another change that we made from Dwellings, which is that you have targeting, which is every ship has a targeting value of 1. So you've got 3 ships in there, so you have a targeting value of 3. With a 3 targeting value, well, we're going to change that back to a 1 for a second.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No worries. I got you. All right. So let's say you have a 3 targeting value, right? With targeting, you can re-roll everything below your targeting value, which in this case means you get to re-roll this 1 and 2.
Nice.
So you would re-roll it again. Now, let's say you re-rolled it and you still got a 1 and a 2. You'd re-roll it again. You literally do not have to stop until you're at targeting or better on every one of your dice, which is huge. That means the more of your armada that you put out there, the more you're going to be able to back it up with this minimum roll. But you are, of course, risking that the armada comes up short, doesn't get that 6, and then you lose them all. So if this was your final result, you would lose them all, right? So then the transports would go off to what we call the scrapyard, which is an area of the board where you lose them for temporarily. But your heavy cruiser actually also has a shield, which means you don't lose the heavy cruiser. So no matter what, that thing can take a hit. So even if you take this loss, your heavy cruiser is sitting right there and can totally go into another fight. So there is so many fun things you can do between spending energy, between bringing in more ships, between playing a diplomacy card, or using ships that have shields. I mean,
don't forget we had my perfect shot. So
So let's say this was the result, and you are also bringing in the perfect shot. Now that's another card you could play right here, which basically adds a 6 to your result. And then what that means is that now you have a 6-5-5, and that beats a 6-5. So the Raider has a 6-5-0, basically. Their next result is nothing. So you would then win that fight by playing that perfect shot. So maybe you're looking at this like, that's my time to play this card. And I've got fun cards too, actually. I could play a card called Dark Alliance. If the thing had won, this would say I get to go up supremacy if the Raider wins a fight. So I got some fun cards too, if depending on how it all goes. I'm not even in the fight, but I'm kind of seeing what's going to happen, right?
Right.
So if you win, what ends up happening is you go up the supremacy track, which is the main central track. That's the way that you generally go up that track, is with fighting. And you'd take your mark and go up 1 in that track. And there's some juicy rewards when you go up that track. Now, the other thing you get is if you ever beat a Raider in combat, you also get the reward on that Raider card. And for this particular entry-level Raider, you'd get another tactics card like that card you played out of your hand.
Okay.
Those could be super valuable. The more of those you get, the more options you have to either play diplomacy or get out of a fight or, go through a wormhole or whatever you got to do to get the results you want. So let's talk about one more thing, which is we'll go over like what my turn would be like, and then we can any other questions or you want to talk about any other part of it. So let's just say you had that awesome turn and it's my turn now. And I am trying to figure out, so I got one ship on the map, right? Move these dice out of the way. So I've got this fighter that's on the map in the center of the board, the one that didn't decide to go in the fight, right?
Right.
So that now I have a choice. Just like in dwellings, I could either come out with one more unit, which would have to be within range of my fighter, or I could pull back, return home to station. Now let's say, so I decide to return home to station. I'm going to show you that part of it. So I've actually got 2 ships that are currently in the scrapyard. They are injured. They're basically they're broken. There's a bottom half of the scrapyard called the repair barge, which if they're in the repair barge, then I can use them on a pullback. But if they're not there, then they are going to just basically come back at the end of my turn. But there's cool things you could do to get them there. So I'm going to show you that now. So when you're doing a pullback, let's grab one more module over here. Pretend I have that. And that one went. Okay, so I've already got these modules on my station. You start with 4 default modules, and you can add more modules, of course, the way we were talking about. So when you pull back, you're going to pull back 1 ship at a time and use your modules. And I only have 1 ship on the board, so I'm going to take that fighter from where it was, and I'm going to bring it back to one of my modules. But here's something cool that I can do. If I look at my shipwright, which is this start of my industry modules, it's got a build, ship, or repair on it. So this first brown module that I'm using, called the shipwright.
Yeah, well, let me hover on it.
No worries. That module is going to let me repair a ship. Now, when I repair a ship, I can actually also repair a module if a module is broken. But I can repair a ship from the scrapyard into the repair barge. So what that means is I can actually use this ship on this current pullback turn. So that's powerful because I've got more options here. But in addition to that, and this is a little bit of a throwback to Manhattan Project Energy Empire, I can also use energy to activate these modules, not just workers, not just ships. So here I've gone to the shipwright. Let's say I decide to go use my core drill here and spend an energy on that instead of a ship, because my ships are very rare right now, right? So I use an energy on the core drill, and that gives me either a titanium or an ice. And let's say I choose an ice. Let me bring an ice in there, and I got 3 ice now. Now I am trying to decide what else I want to do. I still got I remember I have a science vessel now that I just repaired, so it can use another module as well. Now, what's cool about this is you do not have to go in order. I could go ping around to any one of these modules. I could go use this one. I could go use this one, that kind of thing. So let's just say, but I want to show you something else cool, which is that you can slot moons in certain places. So if you look at these 2 industry modules that I am working on, if you use an industry module and another industry module that's connected to it, you also get anything that you slot in the middle. So let's just pretend I actually slotted a moon token in between these 2 modules. Now I get what's on that moon if I use both the left and the right side of the industry module. So now I just put a repair right there. So I get another repair. So I basically get to move my other ship in the scrapyard into the repair barge. Now I've got 2 active workers that were previously not active to suddenly become available to me. So now I can take one of those and I'm going to pop it down here to my commerce row. Commerce is a really good engine builder as well. And I'm looking at my Steel Pulse Corporation over here, and I'm going to activate that one. Now, when I activate that one, it's going to give me a point, which is great. It's going to give me a credit, which is wild for a lot of other resources. And it's also going to give me a titanium. And then that circle around it means that you're also going to get a titanium. So that's sort of a consequence of me getting a point, is it's a pretty good module and you're also going to benefit. So my corporation is throwing titanium around like it's nothing. So I make one for you, I make a credit for me, and I would get a credit in my resources here. You can hold up to 5 of each type of resource. Energy, you can hold up to 10. So I've got that going on. Now I've got one more energy left, and I've got one more ship left. So I'm looking at my options. I can go generate another credit in my treasury. I can go this one in the customs office. The civilization modules, either they do great engine building or they're also endgame. I'll bring over an endgame one so we can look at that. This one down here, I'll bring this over. So if I've got an endgame one, like this one, the Cognition Collective, that one I don't need to do anything. The ship doesn't activate that one. It's just at the end of the game. It gives me something to work on. But I can activate this one called the Customs Office, which is next door with a ship. And so I'll go over there with my science vessel. And that one says I could spend any resource to go up the commerce track, which is great because I'm already working on commerce. So maybe I would do that to go up that track.
It's a lot to go up tracks. I would assume the tactics cards are a type of card.
Tactics are a type of card.
Or are they all tactics cards?
So so I'm going to show you every card in my hand
is a tactic card.
Is a tactics card.
Okay.
So I can use these as a resource as well. In fact, one of my moons here is a tactics card, right? So I can actually spend this to get a card or save it to plug it into my engine. Like I could have put it up here on this slot right over here. Right. There's also, I'll show you another example of a commerce card. Here, I'll bring another card down here. It's pretty fun. Commerce allows you to slot moons into those cards. So for example, this Carbonite Exchange. In our final art, we've got like a little bit of a nod to Han Solo in there.
Nice.
So you could actually put the tactics card as the input on that card. Now this is a little snap thing on this particular TTS. But if I plugged it in there, I would get 2 points for plugging it in, and I would define the input. So every time I use this module, I would then pay 1 tactics card to get the other side of the equation, which in this case would be a nanocarbon, a point, and a credit.
And I assume, you just get those cards. You can basically just use them to power that.
If you draw cards you don't like, you put, I can start to spend it this way. Now, if I come over here, this is the last part I want to talk about. You'll notice that over here, there is I could get another card. That's one option. Or this other action is I could build. So if I want to build, here's how that works. Let's just say I'm out of workers though, right? How am I going to possibly build? I got nothing on the map. That's a problem. You need 1 transport to be able to build. But I happen to have a card up my sleeve called Stealth Maneuver. Stealth Maneuver says play on any player's turn. So move a ship here. I'll bring the card over. So it's right over here. So it says move a ship from your launch bay to any planet. And this is not a launch. Remember, my turn right now is to pull back, but this allows me to take that 1 ship I have left in my board, and I'm going to go put it on this ice planet over here. So it's like I just snuck in there, right?
Right.
While I'm on that ice planet, there's a cost to build there, which is 4 ice and 3 liters. I have to have 4 ice and 3 liters to build a city. That tells me what I need, and I go back to my board. Now, I didn't have 4 ice at the start of my turn, but because I generated a credit from my engine building and I generated an ice from my core drill, now I do have 4 ice. I have the ability to do this. I can spend 3 ice, and my credit is wild for 1 ice. So that's all the ice I need to build the city. Then I need 3 liters. So I've got these liters here, and I need 3 liters that's the requirement for a city. So once I pay those 2 things, let's move those out of the way. Then I can go back to that region, right? And I'm going to go grab a city here. And that basically goes right on top of the transport. And it's now I have built a city. And then what ends up happening when you build a development is you go up in the track that's associated with that planet and that. So I'm going to go up in civilization. You're going to score all the leaders that are nearby, not only the ones that are in the city, because there's 3 in the city, but any leader that's nearby is going to score. So if you look at Odessa Field's got 2, Maximus Field's got 2, Monolith has got 2. So I'm going to score 6 plus the 3 in the city, plus 1 more on the shipyard. So I'm going to score 10 points right now.
Wow.
Which is actually the maximum you could get on a build. So that's a perfect spot right in the center of all the action. And then after that, the city is you're going to get this card which actually gives you an idea of what the city's power is. You got a one-time ability every time you build a city. That is to get a module. In this case, it's to get a module of my choice. When you use the power, you flip the card over and it just reminds you of the city scoring at the end of the game. So that'll be better and better the more I go up civilization. The more I build on blue planets or buy blue modules, the better that city is going to get. So that is what we call a development. Now, in this game, developments and track progression are two of the main ways to get points and two of the big things to do. But there are lots of other ways you can get points. You can get points off your engine. You can get points off of various resource collection or card play. Lots of different things.
Are there endgame scoring cards?
Yeah, so remember the Civ module that I showed you that you don't actually have to activate? That was that blue one. That was on my board. That was basically Civ modules are the ones. If you want endgame and you want it to be on your tableau, you're going to go and want to buy the blue cards because that's what that does.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So, and I didn't touch on all sorts of faction powers that also can get points.
There's faction powers. There's events. What do we have up here on the left? I forgot what this was.
Okay, so those are the development powers that you get when you build one of those developments. So build a spaceport, you get a certain power. You build a factory, you get a different power. That is sort of that asymmetry of do I want to go up the industry track and upgrade my ships and get repairs? Do I want to go down the observatory and discover stuff as I'm playing? Do I want to max out the end game and go for the Civ? I mean, there's lots of fun things to do in here.
There's a lot, and you've covered a lot. I'm trying to think and grasp everything you've gone over as far as what people might want to ask. I know some people were wondering how it's similar and how it's different than Dwellings. I know it's a new design. I guess since it might be asked, how would you label two things that are similar and two things that are different in a nutshell?
Okay. Two things that are similar. The turn structure, the fact that you either put one out or pull all back, right. That's going to be very similar. It's an asynchronous play, right? So I take a turn, you take a turn. We can get out of sync. I could put one down, and then you could put one down, and I could come back. You could just keep going, putting your ships out. That's going to be very similar. It's a hex map too. It's modular in that way.
Right.
Another similar feature is, there's a lot of similar features, but another one would be, say, the factions have, like in Dwellings, I played the ogres. The ogres have two different powers. Here I might play the Mecharon Synthborn, like Terminator mech robots, and they've got two powers. So that's going to feel similar in that sense.
Okay.
Where it starts to break apart is one of my most favorite ways to describe it is this is a little bit deeper. So this has got engine building that is way beyond Dwellings. Because in Dwellings, you grab a card, you might grab an adventure card that's really cool. Like, hey, I'm going to buy this one that might let me control a monster once in a while. But there isn't there's engine building. A couple times you get a couple cards that combo well, but maybe you get to fire them once. This is like, I am building either a commerce engine or I'm building a super science engine, and I'm firing off 6 different modules and having this turn where it's like, oh, and then this one allows me to buy that, and then that one unlocks this, and it's just like this combo fest. So to me,
all the tracks I think have been incentivized now to go up. If you look in here,
yeah,
there was no reason before.
Yeah, Dwellings had I want to go up fire, I want to go up water.
And I
just want to do the
multiplier,
best
but
I can to get up fire. But here, if I go one more step up commerce, I unlock resources are worth points. So maybe I want to go up to the commerce track has these vaults on it, where if you go up to a certain level, then all of a sudden your resources are worth points. And if you go up Civ, you get more tactics cards at certain points. So it's which do I want, right?
Right. That's really cool.
The other thing that I would say about their differences is I would say, we did look a lot at Dwellings and say, okay, where is it having its weak spots in terms of the dice rolling? People definitely said, hey, I set up this perfect turn, and then I got my dragon ran into the living storm, and that was it, right?
My last game, I think 4 rolls. There wasn't one. I don't think I won one battle. I had fun, but I didn't win one battle, and I was kind of like, this. I would love to see this mitigated. So I'm glad that. Something in there.
Diplomacy changes the whole thing. Like if you want to beat up on me, if you're going, I'm going to go chase you down, I could be like, the battle ends. I mean, we're not going to do this today. So you got to pick your spots. Like I think he's out of cards. I think I got him. Or I can actually, in dwellings, you get a sword when you lose, right? And the swords can be spent on things. So it's a consolation prize. But here, I can actually pick what I get when I lose. For example, let's say I went off into the nebula and I got a moon that has 2 points on it. I could literally slot that. Now, every time you beat me up, I get 2 points. I'm actually like, come at me, because I'm happy to see that I keep, I could use those ships. If I build a strong repair, engine, I only need one ship to come back and repair my whole fleet. And I don't actually care that I'm in the scrapyard. There is so much that you could do to mitigate the fact that you might not be the best fighting faction. So it's not an issue. The other thing I want to mention that I think is very different is in dwellings, let's say you had a faction that was a tunneling dragon, right? So you got your board, you're like, okay, I've got the tunneling dragon, and I'm going to build that dragon, I'm going to get that dragon, summon it, and then I'm going to have this cool thing. In this one, you don't start with your heavy cruiser starts with the same powers as every other heavy cruiser, but you can upgrade it. So that's like saying mid-game I'm going to give tunneling to the dragon, or mid-game I'm going to give the ability for this fighter to, gain more targeting or get this super shield or whatever it is. So you're just able to, on the fly, decide what's important to you.
Is that from the tech? More of the tech? Is that all from the tech tiles?
That's all from the tech tiles, but you also, as a faction, each faction gets its own one. So I have one that only I can do. That's like, if I'm playing the cloud people, they have this cloud scraping ability that's on their transports, and I'm the only faction that can build it. It's not necessary that I build it to win, but it's just a cool avenue that I have. I can decide, I want to get that,
So there's general ones, but then there's also the ones that come on your board that you can go for as well, right?
Yeah.
So it gives you a lot of control of how you want your play experience to be, which way you're going to take.
Sure. Are you going to build? Are you going to fight? Are you going to engine? Are you going to get your engine firing? Are you going to explore? Are you going to, discover lots of things out of the nebula? So there's cool ways to play it.
Yeah, man.
And the event track, I should mention too, like Energy Empire, which does have a track of pollution, this does have a track as well, and you have control over when you push that track. So you can force the track. The event timer is what decides the end of the game, because the more events that happen, you spiral towards an end game situation. So if I feel like I'm, was that? Yeah. So the end game trigger is 50, 60, or 70 points. It's not like dwellings. You have to see all the hexes or build all the dwellings. In this one, you have a timer that you've set at the beginning of the game. So if I say, let's play a short one, we can play a little bit longer, we'll get even more engine building. So we play to 70. Whatever the timer is, you are in control of how many cards you play that activate that timer. So when each time the event track goes around and gets to a card, you score a track. So let's say that we score science and I'm really ahead in science, then I move that many points. And so the higher you get up the track, it starts to ramp. All of a sudden we're scoring a lot. And the best part about that is not only do you have control of the track when you push the events, but you can also look at those cards. If you go into the nebula, you can actually see what the next 2 events are.
Oh, okay.
And let's say you're up supremacy and I'm up science, and I look at the next 2 events and it's a supremacy and a science. I'm like, yeah, we're not doing that one. So you get to put one on the bottom and one on the top.
Okay.
Which means that whoever is controlling that gets to kind of say what we're going to score.
So fun. People that are actually paying attention to that, Galaxy Trucker had a thing like that. I never looked at the deck and was always obliterated.
Yeah, you could look, right? Yeah.
You have the way to look, and if you choose to focus on that, you can at least plan ahead for that, right?
Yeah, I've seen people win when they control what we're going to score, as opposed to even controlling the battles or which developments they're getting, if they know what's going to score, they can be ready for it, right?
Right on.
So,
well, I want to keep these short. That's the goal. And I know you're going to have a plethora of how to plays and preview videos coming out when the campaign hits. So hopefully this will be one of them. And I really thank you again for taking the time out to show us. I know you're super excited. I love seeing the development of this game over the past year, and I'm sure you guys are going to knock it out of the park with your campaign. So with that being said, I wish you good luck and everything. And until next time, we'll get together at the table again. All right.
Appreciate it very much. And the Board Game Revolution community is awesome.
Well, you're awesome, man. We appreciate having you. And until next time, BGR out.
BGR out.
Except you're still on. I'm still on. No one cares.